Well, we are back yet again. Are we going? I think we are. Yep, I believe that is. Yeah, we're going. Well, we're back again, and only 20 minutes late this time. Can't say it's the latest I've been, but we are back for John Wick Chapter 4, and it's definitely a film I wish I had more time with to actually sort of go through everything. It's kind of because it's fucking like, well, 2 hours 40 minutes if you take out the credits. So it's took a while to kind of get through everything and really pull everything out of it. So I do wish I had more time with it, because I may be a bit shit. At least once we get to a certain mark, I think I'm going to start to forget shit and all that. But we shall see. How's it going, Biffa? But yeah, how do we start? I suppose we're just starting, because I was going to recap all the other films. I didn't have quite enough time, again to sort of round out my thoughts on each movie. I think the first one, that's very simple. That's pretty good, pretty solid. I don't really. I think this one does better in the sense that it's a lot more straightforward, in terms of the story. So it has a lot more in comparison with the first one. I think the two and three, they just got too far into, I guess, the lore and all that sort of stuff. There are things throughout the lore, I think, in this sort of world that is, some of it don't make no sense. But I suppose with these films, at least you're only dealing with action films, so you're not really there for, I suppose, just full on story. You do have your characters and stuff like that, but the story's very just straightforward. It doesn't have a lot of, right, we're explaining this, and this, how this works. So it does a lot better there. Again, it's what you expect out of an action movie. And as far as an action movie with this one, I can safely say it's very good. For my thoughts on it at the moment are, very good. I haven't got a lot of complaints. There's things here and there with the action. I think the story is pretty much fine. I can't really see that many issues in it from what I've went through so far. But I suppose once we go through it, we'll see. I'm gonna be probably a bit more brief than I usually am, just because, again, 2 hour and 40 minute movie. I think to try and break the entire thing down scene by scene is probably going to take a fucking long time. But that's kind of my recap on the original movies. I mean, the first movie, why I think that does a lot better than 2 and 3 is it's very straightforward. It introduces you to John Wick, someone who lost his wife, and then was given a puppy to so he's not dealing with it alone. So it was something his wife left him. That gets killed, so of course that sends him. So, you start off very, very quick and simple. And that has a very similar things with here. With other characters they introduce they're very efficient in just introducing the character. This is what this character, is motivated by. They're doing it for these reasons. And that's kind of like the first half an hour of the movie, is just setting up all these characters, who they are, what they want, what they're motivated by. And then, we just go pretty much non-stop action from there. And I think the main things I guess the film's going for is sort of friendship, brotherhood, consequences. It's kind of going for, I guess, themes and messages of those sorts. But what else? What else can I say? I mean, that was we went over the first movie. I just think 2 and 3. I only watched the third one this week. I'd seen the first and second one. It took me ages to even bother watching the third one. So I kind of wish I watched them like fucking weeks ago, so that I can go, right, I can spend a bit of time on on 2 and 3 to get my sort of overall thoughts on them. But I just think with the 2 and 3, they definitely, they weren't very good. You know, in comparison with the first one, and with this one, it's a whole lot better than 2 and 3. I just think it shares a lot more similarities with the first one. So that's really all I got to say about the kind of, I guess, the recap on the first 3. So I'm probably gonna just try and judge this as its own sort of thing. That's probably gonna be the easiest bet. But I'll give it a few minutes, and then I will tell you when I'm gonna start going into spoilers. I'll probably be bouncing, you know, all around, just because, you know, I reckon we'll only be here about an hour and a half, something like that. But what more can I say about the, you know, I suppose I'll give more overall thoughts of the 4th movie, which I've done it actually a lot quicker than I thought I would. I thought I would have had a lot more to say by now. But that's, you know, just for an action movie, it, you know, it has everything you want there. There's a lot of memorable action sequences. It's mainly the last 2. The last 2 are very memorable. They have something a bit more unique about them. And, you know, the action's always, it's not just, oh, we need an action scene, so let's do it. You know, usually all the action is justified. You know, it's justified for right now. Whereas, you know, you take, like, The Mandalorian, it's just like, you know, we're not doing anything, but fuck it, action scene. Whereas with this, there's a reason for the action happening. It's not just, you know, it's not just action, and that's really all there is to it. There's always a reason for why we're going into that. So that's kind of what I would say about the action. Again, some of the action I do have criticisms of. You know, I'd probably be more harsh on some of the action, and if it wasn't for the amount of effort that goes into it. You know, so it's only really like minor things, like, you know, what you seem to notice. It didn't really have these problems in the first one. It was kind of once you go into 2 and 3, and there is sometimes it happens in this one where you have someone that has a gun that runs at John, rather than just go, oh no, I'll tell you what a gun is for. It's for long distance shooting. So what I'll do is fucking stand over there, right? I'll have this amazing idea. I'll stand over there with this gun, and then I'll just shoot at John. So it does have issues like that, but again, I would be as harsh if it wasn't for the fact that you can tell the amount of effort that goes into it, the amount of time that's spent on it. You know, you're gonna, I suppose you're gonna expect things like that anyway, but they definitely do have that problem. You know, I'm generally quite, because I'll fucking criticize other things for it. I just think with this, they are actually putting effort into it. Whereas with some other things, you know, it's just, you know, a guy walks up to him with a gun rather than standing over there. Whereas this, it's like where we're fighting and all that sort of. So there's a lot more to it with this one. But it does have those certain issues where you just kind of notice it, and it does bug me after a while. I'm just like, just fucking stand over there and shoot. I just think when you do stuff like that, you know, I just think it adds a lot more weight to what's going on when you have all these different various things that could go wrong for John Wick. You know, it just adds a lot more to it, because it's the same with a lot of these, like, you know, I guess there's no such thing as the police. That's always a question that's in your mind. It's just like, where the fuck are the police? Do they not exist in this world? So there is elements like that where I think if you did incorporate it, it would make it a lot stronger. Like action wise, it just adds a lot more layers to it. You know, you're not just going, well, I'm just dealing with a high table and that's it. Whereas if you throw a bunch of other stuff in there as well, it makes it, you know, again, it just has more weight in it, I would say. But again, overall with the action, it's still really fucking fun, enjoying the watch. It's really it's a film of men doing what men do best. That's probably the best way to describe this movie. You know, it's not fucking what you would expect out of Hollywood. But I mean, they've been pretty consistent with how they do these movies. Because I always remember when the first one came out. I just remember it being one of those films where it's like that was a fucking breath of fresh air. That was it was something new, something a lot different than what we were getting at the time. Because I mean, the first one was what? Was it 2016? Or was it earlier than that? I can't remember now. But yeah, I remember it being one of those films where he's just like, that's fucking something a bit different than what we've been getting. So I do hope this film does pretty well. We shall have to see, because $100 million, that was the budget for it. They definitely haven't wasted it. You know, we can say that. But that's probably the action part of it. Again, the story is very just straightforward. You know, John Wick wants this. We introduce other characters that have to do this because of certain things. I'm just trying to sort of summarize the sort of entire plot without spoiling it. Because it's one of those films that you don't want to spoil. Whereas when it comes to, you know, a Marvel movie, it's like, who the fuck cares about spoilers when it comes to those? So it does have that you know, it's one of those films that I would say it's definitely worth going to see, you know, watching it in whatever way you can. It's definitely one of those. It wouldn't be a waste of money. So we'll see how it does. How it does in terms of box office. Because I'm still waiting on an update, which will probably be tomorrow, and we'll see how it's done. Sort of its opening weekend. But yeah, what I was fucking talking about the story, wasn't I? So it's kind of, yeah, as I say, it's just very straightforward. It's not, you know, it's not complex, which again, that's not really what I suppose you're looking for in something that is specifically an action movie. You know, the story isn't the sort of main focus. It's mainly, you know, the spectacle of it. That sort of stuff. In terms of characters, though, I think that there's a lot of characters in here where you're just like, I fucking love that character. You know, especially Donnie Yen's character. He's like, you know, make a movie with him, do a spin-off with Donnie Yen as Kane, because that character's probably the standout. It's probably just one of those things that stands out for the entire film, and you're just like, I want to see fucking more of him. Which I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Because I think how this film ends, I don't really know where it's going to be going now. Because I think they are meant to be doing a John Wick 5. So I don't know what way they're gonna go with it. But I suppose they're doing a lot of spin-offs and all that anyway. But that would be the one I would go with, is Donnie Yen. Just the standout of the entire film. But that goes for a lot of the characters in this film that they introduce. Again, they do it very, very efficiently. You know, as I said at the start of this, they just introduce them. This is who this is. This is how he's connected to, say, John Wick. This is what, you know, he's got to do or been forced to do, and he's only going along with it for this reason. So you've got a lot of variety in your characters, sort of what they value, just how they see things. So they do very well in that regard. And I suppose that's, you know, we've been going like 15 minutes now, so we might as well just dive into it. So, you know, if you are watching, you haven't seen it, I am about to jump into spoiler territory, and I may be sort of all over the place with it. So just to warn you, so, you know, as I've said, it's definitely a film you want to watch. So I would just say go and watch it and then come back and see if I've done a good job fucking explaining it. So it all starts out with, you know, again, I'm gonna try and be brief with a lot of this, just because how long it is. So I'm not gonna go that far into it, but you know, it opens up with you've got the Bowery King, you know, Lawrence Fishburne's character. That's another character that just has, you know, he's not really that. I think he has like 3 scenes in the entire film. But, you know, the lines he usually has are really fucking cool all the time. Because I always remember the line, was it, I don't know if it was, I'm pretty sure it was 3. When you've got that woman from the high table going about, and she goes to like his sort of place and talks to him. And what does he says something like, you know, climb down off your table and go fuck you. But it's the way he says it. Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne's really good for that sort of stuff. You know, because in this opening scene, it's like John. I guess it's not very long after the events of 3, which I mean, at the end of chapter 3, he probably should be dead. Let's just say that. Considering, you know, Winston shot him and then he fell like fucking 15 stories. I'm like, yeah, probably dead. You know, there is some in this film where I'm like, yeah, you should probably be dead. You just kind of have to go, oh, it's fine, you know, whatever. It's an action movie, but at the same time, it's like, oh, just why? So that's kind of where it goes on from. So John's obviously, you know, healing and training up, like just punching this thing, and you've got like Lawrence Fishburne walking through like, you know, like train tracks, and they like he finally gets to where John is, and like he says the motherfucking king is here, and you just like, again, Lawrence Fishburne and like with this character's fucking just got good lines like that. So that's kind of how it starts. It's just like, you know, John, are you ready? And then it's the whole, yeah. So he goes off, and then he goes like to see the elder, which is the man, the man that is above the table. So that's was it? See, because I watched 2 and 3 like the day after, like in 2 days. So I'm now forgetting which one it was where we had. It's got to be 3, innit? Yeah, the 3rd one with Halle Berry in it. So he goes out to see the elder in the desert. You know, it's out of the trailer where he's on the horse, fucking shooting guys, like chasing them. So he gets to like the elder, and he asks for, you know, I want my ring and my freedom. And what do we have in here? Because I've kind of got I've got a copy up here, and I've also got my notes. So he says, like, no, your ring's gone, just like the elder before me. So this is a different elder than what we had in the 3rd one. So a completely different like character. He's just like, you know, you can't end this by killing me. My death will not change the outcome any more than you can change your nature. None of us can escape who we are, and no one escapes the table. And the only way John Wick will have freedom or peace is in death. Yeah, John's like, you know, I know. So throughout this film, you're already kind of like, I think John already knows how this all ends. I think he's already kind of accepted it. Just from, you know, what we get at the ending, where he does just kind of accept his fate, shall we say. I don't really want to get there too quick, so I'm trying not to, you know, jump to the end. And then, yeah, then he ends up just shooting the elder and then fucks off. So then it goes into, because, you know, as I say, the first half an hour is just setting everything up. You know, what is the situation? Who is the antagonist? So it's kind of that sort of stuff we're doing, but we're trying to fly through it a bit. So you get I forget the actor's name. Generally he plays a lot of like, sort of lieutenants and stuff like. I forget is it Ian McShane? I think that's his name. So I think he's like a harbinger, where I guess he's just like a sort of messenger of sorts. But he goes and tells them that by order of the Marquis, and that's going to be like our antagonist, who is it's another one of the Skarsgård's sons, I guess. I don't know if they're I don't know if they're all brothers or what, but they've pretty much fucking taken over everything at the minute. So was it Bill Skarsgård? That's the guy that they have. He's very much like I would probably describe him more like he's more like a Bond, a James Bond sort of villain. He plays like a French guy. So they're told by. I didn't even fucking say where this harbinger went. So yeah, goes to Winston's hotel and is just like, by order of the Marquis, this hotel has been condemned. So they like evacuate the hotel. They're given 1 hour to go and see the Marquis. The Marquis is like he's not above the table or anything. He's not like, he's just sort of handpicked by the 12 members of the High Table to get rid of John Wick, essentially. So yeah, they have to go and meet him. So you have Winston saying, like, it's been decreed by all 12 members of the table, giving the Marquis power as judge, jury, and then it sort of cuts off where they obviously mean executioner. So they evacuate the hotel, and then you finally have the meeting between them, and you have Sharon, I forget how you pronounce it, but they have him go there with Winston. You get quite again. I think some of this stuff does just kind of play into the sort of how the movie ends. You have them like as they're walking through the hallway to go and meet this guy. And Winston's just like Ned Kelly's final words as they slip the noose around his neck was, "Such is life." Essentially, just accepting that this is what's happening. So you're just like, such is life. So I think that does play into the end. So you have like, it's better off just calling him the concierge, because I'm going to end up mixing up how you pronounce it. So, like, the concierge is like, today isn't the day you die. Winston's like, you have the unshakable faith of David, my friend, but you shouldn't be here. This will not be pleasant. And then you just have Sharon reply back saying, "Such is life, sir." So, it does play into friendship throughout this film as well. It does come up more than once. So then they go in and have a meeting with this guy. I think he does play a really good villain in this. He's quite interesting. He's definitely very vicious, shall we say. So you just have them, my father used to say, how you do anything is how you do everything. He called it the first and last rule of life. So it just goes, do you believe in rules? Winston's like, yeah, that's been a sort of through line, I guess, throughout all films. Rules separate us from the animals. So, the Marquis is just like, and what of consequences? Winston's like, of course, and second chances. And then that's when the Marquis is like, that's where we differ. Second chances are the refuge of men who fail. And that's pretty much how you get introduced to him. And then, I almost forgot again. Again, it's why I said I wish I had more time with this movie. And then he shoots Sharon. So Sharon is now dead. You get quite a nice scene between him and Winston. Sharon is like, it was good serving you. And yeah, they say, does he say I'm pretty sure he says my friend, something like that. So then we get introduced to Kane, and this is probably the character I think we'll probably end up talking about quite a bit, because he is very interesting. Again, just the way that the sort of characters they've introduced just have that cool factor, and they have very interesting sort of techniques, uniqueness to them. So we get introduced to him, and he's so this is like Donnie Yen's character called Kane. He gets called into the marquee. He's just like, what do you want me for? I'm retired now. And then he gets given like a card with John Wick's name on it, and it's like, this is who we want you to kill. That this was the deal. That we give you a name, or else we'll kill your daughter. So already you're already like caught up to speed on why exactly he would take on this job. Because he doesn't have a choice. It's, as he puts it later on in the movie to John, if it's you or my daughter, then I'm gonna have to kill you, because we find out here that they're old friends as well. Him and John are like old friends. So again, as I say, they do it very, very efficiently. They sort of zoom up on Kane's face, and you can already tell he didn't really want to kill John. He don't really want anything to do with this, but what other choice does he have? So that's kind of the way. That's kind of the way you have. So it's as I said, you have various a variety. Mainly, it's your main three characters that just I guess look of a way to get out from under the table, sort of in different ways. Whereas you just have Kane is more of, I guess the only way out of this is just to serve. That's really all you can do. There's no defying the table. I think he says at some point in this film. So you get introduced to him. He's also blind, I should mention. So they don't go quite Daredevil with it. I wasn't sure if they were going to go like that far with it. But he does have interesting things where it is very subtle things. Where you kind of get that a lot, mainly from your three main characters. I guess your protagonist, and then your two somewhat antagonists. Although the two of the antagonists are they're very likable as well. You don't really want to see these three going up against each other. There's actually something there where you just like, I fucking like all three of them. Like, how about don't get rid of any of them? So I'm looking forward to talking about some of, mainly his first fight scenes, like really, really good the way they do it. So I think, that's when we go to Osaka. It is Osaka, isn't it? In, what is it, Japan? I don't know. Yeah, it's fucking Japan, and I'm pretty sure. I don't know why. I'm now fucking up my geography. But yeah, it's like the Osaka Continental they go to. Well, I shouldn't really say they yet. But that's when you get introduced to your sort of next protagonist, I would probably go with. I don't really know what you would call an antagonist who's more, not quite, the main antagonist is, of course, the Marquis. But the other two, like Donnie Yen and this guy we're about to get into, I don't really know what you would call that. So we get introduced to him. He's, he goes into the Continental. He's got a dog also. So they do a similar thing, because they had that in 3 as well, where Halle Berry had dogs fighting with them. So they kind of do that here as well. Although I think they do it a lot better than they do in 3. There's definitely a lot of things there. And he sort of went into this Continental. You know, it turns out later he's a tracker, so he's like, you know, tracking down John Wick. And again, they do it very efficiently by introducing him. I'm just trying to find the, because he has like a little notebook, and it's, you know, just to give you, you know, what is, you know, what's this guy motivated by. So he has like a little notebook. It's got like sketches of John, and then he sort of turns onto a page where it's the, you know, there's one page that has, you know, this nice mansion in the mountains, you know, his dog's in it. It's like a little sketch, I think. And it's got like a total amount of like 48.3 million. So this is kind of what the guy wants. He wants the reward for John Wick, but he wants it to be, you know, he wants the reward to go way up to, you know, what he wants. So that's why he just kind of, throughout most of it, he's just kind of tracking John. He's just waiting for this reward to go up to, you know, as high as he can get it up, because the reward goes up every now and then. So he's kind of playing the long game. So, you know, already, so now you know you've now had Kane, who is like, you know, he's more like the only way out of this is just serving them. With this character, it's more of, you know, if I get this amount of money, I can buy myself out, get this nice house, you know, a nice pension, all that sort of stuff. I think I almost ended this stream by accident there. I better watch that. So already, you know, we don't even get really that much dialogue about it. It's just, you know, it shows you his notebook and what's in it, and you can kind of figure out, all right, so he just wants that reward to go up so he can get as much money as he can, and have a nice little cozy mansion with him and his dog. But yeah, you just have like, you have a long list, you know, 15 million, 20 million, 25, all the way up to like 50 million. And I guess once it crosses that point, he just crosses it out. Like, it's gone over that now. But he's playing the long game for it. So again, you've already done it very efficiently. Right, we know what this guy is after, why he's motivated to do what he's doing. And that, again, it's, as I say, it's pretty much the same with every character. There's no pissing about. It's just, we're going to set all this up in the first half an hour, then we're just going to go fucking all in on the action. So then we get introduced to our next character. Again, we're still just in the setup stage of this. I think it's already taken me longer than I fucking thought it would. So it's Koji. That's he's like the manager of this Continental. So we're kind of straight onto him. It's like him and his daughter. His daughter is like his concierge. You know, he's told about what happened in New York about them. You know, I'm already realizing, again, I keep missing out crucial information. Because yeah, they blew up the Continental in New York. Because of that was obviously the consequences of Winston not killing John Wick, like when he had the chance at the end of 3. You know, although he did mean to kill him, but John Wick got away. He miraculously survived after falling about 50 feet. Fucking hell. You just kind of have to forget such shit like that, because it's just like, what? So yeah, his daughter's telling Koji about New York. It's this actor, I forget his name, but I always like this actor when I see him show up in anything. He's been in a lot of. I think he was in the most recent Mortal Kombat film. I think he played. What is that? You know, I'm not a Mortal Kombat guy. But what's is it Snake? No, it's Scorpion. You know, it's one of the main ones. So it's that actor that's in this. So his daughter's just like, should we be worried about this? Because your relationship with John Wick is no secret. She's like, the table will come, and he's just like, and will be met with our grace. She's just like, everything he touches dies. And already they introduced him as, he's got good friends with John, and even at the risk of pissing off the table, he'd still, friendship has a lot higher value than just pleasing the high table. Because after she says, "Oh, everything he touches dies," he's just like, "Don't talk like that about a man I've known longer than you exist." So as I say, they already introduce him as, he values his friendship with John a lot higher than the table. So that's kind of, we don't actually get that much of him, and I kind of wish we did. Very interesting stuff, but yeah, I think he more or less plays into the consequences, sort of what they're going for in this film. So yeah. Then it turns out John's here anyway, so he goes and talks to him on the roof. They have a drink and all that. He's just like, killing the elder was a mistake. He tells John about like New York and Sharon being dead. He's asked, have you given any thought on where this ends? The table only takes life and gives death. They won't stop. You know this. Which again, I think the way, the expressions that they have on Keanu Reeves' face, it just kind of relay like, I know that. I know where this ends. It's not quite what I want, but it may end up being something I just accept. So, John apologizes, like, I'm sorry for causing you any trouble. Which you just have Koji say, like, friendship means a little when it's convenient. So really just layering on the, what this guy's about, what he cares more about. So yeah, that's when you finally have the table. I believe it's the Marquis. It's his guys that show up, and they, we're not far off the getting into the action. So you have Koji like, yeah, I think his daughter shows up with John first, and he tells her, you stay with John. I think I have jumped over certain stuff, but it's fine. I am trying to keep it brief. So you have Koji go down and talk to the Marquis men. He's just like, hold on. I don't think I'm quite at it in my notes yet. I just need to go down a bit. Yeah, so they just come in like, we have reason to believe that an excommunicado is here, that being John. So we're going to need full access to your hotel. Koji's like, you're going to have to surrender your firearms. You can't conduct your business on continental grounds either. So they're just kind of like, nah, fuck that. We're not giving you our guns. They're just like, don't repeat the mistakes of New York. He's just like, fools talk, cowards are silent, and wise men listen. And then that's when Kane Sharp shows up. He's had a haircut, He's had a haircut. He's got his suit on and everything. He's like, which one are you? So we get a little, but again, it shines through here that these two know each other. That there is a type of, they still have a good high level of respect for each other. They understand why, why they're doing what they're doing. Koji knows that, it's very obvious that, it's because, they've got your daughter, so if you don't do this, you're going to lose her, so of course, you've got to do this. me see. Just figure out where we are now. Yeah, because you even have, like, you have Kane. Well, like, as I've been saying, Kane is the very, very much just, he doesn't, he's quite just thinking the only way out of this is just, no one defies the table, as he says here. You have Koji saying, I remember when you understood brotherhood. So there is certain things I guess Kane has lost from what he once was. Just sort of remembering, again, what brotherhood. And then, yeah, you even have, as they're about to sort of go into this big fucking all-out fight, you even have Kane saying, I'm sorry, but, we got to do this. There's no way around it. So that's when the hotel goes green. You've got all like Koji's archers come out and all that. So that's when they start all the suit business, which I think we can kind of talk about a bit. Just these bulletproof. I just find these bulletproof suits really inconsistent with just how they're shown to be. You shoot at them and it just bounces off them. Yet if someone stabs you, then it goes through. But in this scene, we have someone shoot an arrow at the guy. He just puts his arm up like that, and it doesn't pierce through. So I'm just like, I think it just makes it quite inconsistent in that aspect. There is some things where I'm just like, let me hold on a second. Well, that's like the first part of it. To you would think, why would you not just use because what are they, hollow point bullets? I think that are sharper. I don't know if that's what it is, because it's very fucking strange that someone can get stabbed through the suit, but they get shot with an arrow which has the same force. I'm just like, well, surely an arrow should go through as well then. But there's a few things to bring up with this. Sometimes the suits are just ridiculous. Sometimes I think, you have guys like running towards John Wick. Once we get to it, they just like, John Wick does it as well, where he just lifts up his fucking jacket coat like that. I'm just like, surely if you have this technology where it's, it's bulletproof, and, generally you would expect, once you get shot in something that's bulletproof, generally that fucks up the entire thing. But you have them like, I'm just like, why not have like something, you have guys shot later on, remember the full armor that they have, where it was in 3, where they show up and you have to like shoot them right in the neck to do any damage, because they're just covered in bulletproof everything. So I'm like, why would you not just have something like that instead of just a suit that you awkwardly go like that with? It is just fucking, it's ridiculous at times. I guess you could just go for, well, they're mental assassins. They don't give a fuck. I don't know. But sometimes they just come across really ridiculous. I'm fine with it the majority of the time. I think the inconsistencies with what penetrates it, I think they, again, could be a bit more consistent with that. Because, I would say introducing them, especially on your main character, it takes more of the weight away. Where it's just like, well, he's not fucking, he ain't got no bulletproof. Therefore, he's going to desperately try not to get fucking shot. But I suppose, I think the only way it works a bit more is the fact that you also have all the other guys in bulletproof as well. So then I guess it kind of evens out a bit. Although you do have a lot of people getting shot in the suit. It's like, just shoot them in the fucking head. I kind of give that a pass a little bit, on the basis that, even people being shot with bulletproof gear or a bulletproof suit, that's still gonna, it's still gonna stun you a bit. So I suppose that's the only way it does kind of work a bit better in that regard. But we went into the suits. Let's just kind of continue, because we're now sort of full on in the action. You know, I'm not really going to go into specifics. Just, I think you kind of need to see it to sort of really break down the fights fully. So, most of the action we will go over briefly. So you have sort of Koji's fight going on downstairs with the archers and all that, and the samurais. And then up on the roof, you still have Akira and John. She's just like, you have no right to be here. Everyone is, hold on. Everyone will die because you broke the rules. Which I think, again, I think, John realizes that a lot of the stuff that has happened is because of him. In a way, not intentionally, sort of because of him. So then they get told, like, a guy comes up and tells them that the hotel is being attacked. So she, like, whips off her fucking kimono, and she's got, like, this full sort of, it's not like a suit, but it's like a, it's like just a bodysuit kind of thing. And I'm like, why don't people just have that then? When it comes to the suits, because a lot of times you have the suits, but bullets still go through the shirt bit, through the middle, right there. The only ones where it doesn't is if they got the their little vest on. Whereas I'm like, why don't they just have what this girl's got? Just this full body suit. That would probably be better to have. Rather than going, fucking, oh, you can't get me. I've lifted up the fucking suit jacket in an awkward fashion. Oh. But yeah, I don't know why they don't just have that. So, yeah, they start their fight up there. Again, we kind of went over some of the issues with like the action in this. Just people running towards John when they've got a gun. It's like, you don't need to do that. You have the sort of stuff where it's like, they come out of cover all the time. It's like, no, don't, like, I would only really, I think it makes it worse when you have main characters, they stay in cover all the time. They're very smart. They go, shoot back in the cover, whereas, just random guys, they just run out of cover all the time. It's like, why are you doing that? Just fucking stay there. Be a bit more smart about it. Again, there is stuff like that which, I'll let it go a bit just because it is, there's a lot of fucking effort that goes into these, and overall, it's a lot of fun to watch. But they are issues that I kind of have to stay consistent with, considering I've levied them at a lot of stuff. Just about that. But as I've said, overall the fucking action's it's still really enjoyable. But there's just things like that really bug me. They just start to get on you, just piss you off a bit after a while. Especially when it's like, oh, they did it again. They fucking did it again. Just stay in cover. But that's why. Just watching the first one doesn't seem to have those sorts of issues with the action. Like when people have a gun and they run towards someone, when that's not what guns for. They don't really seem to do that as much in one, because it wasn't long ago I watched the first one. Unless I just didn't fucking notice it in that one, but it's not as bad in this one. In 2 and 3, it's fucking off the rails with that sort of stuff. So yeah, we got our action scene, and then we can finally get to Kane, who is just cool as fuck. So he's like because the fight has now moved into the kitchen. So Kane he's sitting, eating a bowl of soup. He's sitting eating a bowl of soup. And the other guys from the marquee, they're like, "Hey, fucking do your job." So he's like, "For fuck's," he's kind of like, "Do I have to?" So he like puts his bowl of soup away, ties his laces, and then he just kind of fucking gets to it. And like the one thing I did pick up on this is the fact that he's not killing Koji's men. So that's, you know, they definitely do a good job at showing that he really does respect Koji. You know, it's not something he wants to do, so he is, where he can, not killing like Koji's men. Which I thought was a nice little touch. So he's just kind of, you know, knocking them out. You know, it's, as I say, he's blind, so they don't go all the way Daredevil with it. He does miss and all that. But he just kind of walks into the kitchen, starts fucking spraying about and all that. And then we have something which I thought was really quite a nice idea. Was he then gets into like part of the kitchen, and then he starts putting like these motion sensor doorbells sort of roundabout. So then when someone, like, he puts it about, like, you know, sort of waist high. So then when some of the guys come through, he knows where they are. So I thought that was pretty cool. A good sort of technique to use that, you know, someone in his position without, you know, lacking eyesight would use. I thought that was quite a good touch. You just see him set, these people, you know, it's going ding dong, these people walking by. But yeah, we're now like about half an hour into this movie now. It's probably once we get a bit further in, then I didn't manage to get a lot of notes for. So a lot of that stuff will be very brief because we're not far off an hour already of this stream. I reckon we're going to be here a lot longer than an hour and a half now because I'm kind of taking my time here. Right, so where am I? I don't know why I started I started scrolling down my notes, you know, as I was talking there, and I thought, no, I'm all the way up here. What the fuck am I going? So yeah, that's the stuff you have. Yeah, you still have John and Akira fighting. Then Koji shows up. Koji just tells him, you know, get out of here. Just kill as many as you can on your way out. Yeah, because John's like, you know, I'll stay and finish it. And Koji's like, don't insult my gift to you. Just like giving him a way out, and, you know, also for the fact that he's defended John at the risk of himself. Which again, I just think a really nice touch in that sort of department. So that's when we're just, so then, like, it's the big fight in the little art gallery thing. Just a big fight where, you know, that's where a lot of the stuff comes up, where it's like, just stand over there with your gun and shoot, you'll kill him. So it does have a lot of that. But, you know, again, really well choreographed, I think. Very beautifully done, shall we say. So that goes on, and then it's finally like the first fight between him and Kane. So he's walking in. They have a bit of a chat. Yeah, John's just like, you know, yeah, they gave you my name, did they? You know, I'm sorry. Me too. That's what Kane says. So again, it's just, you know, they still have that respect for each other. They just know why, you know, they've got no way out of this. This is just the way it has to go. So then the fight, yeah, we get like the fight starting. Yeah, it's just yeah, it's not that long a fight really, this part of it. So I'm just trying to make sure I'm fucking where I need to be here. Yeah, you just have like Kane saying, you should have stayed out for all our sakes. He's like, I tried. You know, he says like, oh, you took a deal from the marquee. Well, no, he doesn't say that. He doesn't know who what the marquee is yet. I think that's like an hour in. He finds out what that's about. So yeah. After that fight, you then get the Mr. Nobody that shows up. He's the guy that has the the dog. He shows up and then he kind of breaks up the fight between Kane and John. John, like, escapes out the building, escapes from Kane, and then the Mr. Nobody shows up and then, like, kills a guy that was about to shoot John, and then sets his dog on the guy, and then he's just kind of like, well, you know, it's as I went over. This guy is waiting for the reward to go up to about 50 million. So that's why he's just kind of, he's still tracking John, but he lets him go because, you know, the reward isn't quite right yet. But yeah, that's where you find out that he's a tracker. He lets John go. And then we get our sort of final action scene of this sort of, you know, I guess the first hour. Because it's not quite action sequence for half an hour. It's more of, we have an action sequence, then it's maybe some characters have a bit of back and forth, and then you have an action sequence, and then you know, a similar thing happens, and then there's an action sequence, and then you kind of have a bit of a break for, you know, I'll have to see as I'm going through, but generally you get a bit of a break between the sort of major action scenes for, you know, you probably get about 20 minutes before we actually dive into another, you know, another action part of the movie. Right, so where am I now? So yeah, it's the samurai fight between Koji and Kane. He's just like, you know, tell me where John is. Then you can leave and, you know, go far away. I just want John. Of course, like, he's wounded also. Kane's like, you know, you owe John Wick nothing. He has no marker on you. And Koji's like, must have fallen far to believe the debts we have lie only in markers. So, you know, I'm really liking this Koji. That's why I'm just like, I would have wanted more of him. Just the sort of, just how high he values his friendship, you know, his friends. Right. So yeah, they get into a bit of a fight. Kane gets the best of him, and then ends up, like, killing him. I think when he gets the first strike on him, he's like, you know, look at me. Even a blind man knows you've lost. You know, then we get, like, our first glimpse of Kane's eyes, and they're, like, you know, silvery. You even notice that there's, like, kind of tears as well there, where it's like, you know, I don't want to fucking kill you, but you're forcing my hand. I'm just gonna have to do it. So, you know, in response to the, you know, Kane saying a blind man knows you've lost, you have Koji like, and Kane, you don't need eyes to see the right path, and that's kind of where you just notice the little sort of tears in his eyes. So I just think they really do well with some of the characters in here. Again, they're not necessarily characters that have a lot of depth to them. They're just characters that, you know, they all have their differences and stuff like that. You know, you're not really expecting a character study in an action movie, are you? So I think with, like, what they do give you in this, you know, it's pretty good. They spend a bit of time on it. But let's start breezing through this, because we're about an hour in now. You just have a scene between Akira and John, like, on the train. She's just like, you know, who's that guy? She's like, if you don't kill him, then I will. So I believe she makes a return in a post-credit scene that I didn't see because I didn't know it had one. Because generally, you know, I don't really sit and wait for, you know, post-credit scenes. You wouldn't really expect one to show up in a John Wick film. So she does return at some point. So then you have, like, a scene between Winston and the Bowery King. And yeah, like Winston wants to, because the Bowery King is like John Wick's sponsor of sorts. He wants to get in touch with John to warn him about what exactly the situation is at hand, what situation is going on. And like the sort of the way Winston is looking at it, he is kind of manipulating John once they have their conversation, in the sense, but it's more of open manipulation. He has his angle. He's looking for, he wants revenge for what happened to Sharon, and also what happened to his hotel. So that's kind of what he wants John for. It's just point him in the right direction, shall we say? So you find out a bit more about Marquis. That John needs to know what's coming at him. This Marquis is unrestrained, and the table has let him off the leash. You have like the Bowery King's like, why did he let you live then? Winston says, if you kill a man, you make him a martyr. If you let him live, you tell the world he's either a coward or a turncoat. There always is a lot of quite interesting dialogue in this movie. Just like really, really nice little fucking sort of lines like that. So like the Bowery King saying, "What are you?" and Winston's just like aggrieved. So now we get to see the because you now have Kane has gone to see Marquis, and also Mr. Nobody has. He's looking at a way to get his money a lot more quickly. Well, yeah. Before that, actually, you get a little conversation between the Marquis and the Harbinger. And you just kind of find out what exactly did you accomplish by condemning the Continental in New York. The Harbinger's like, I don't see how that gets us closer to John Wick being dead. He's like, this campaign is not to kill John Wick, but the idea of John Wick. And to do so, I must destroy everything that idea touches. So that's why he's leveled the, he's destroyed the Continental. They even have nice stuff in here as well, where it does play into it. Just in it's in like an art gallery in Paris, and it's all these sort of paintings of like the French Revolution and all that sort of stuff. So I think that kind of plays into that aspect as well. He's told by the Harbinger the bloodshed in Osaka was unnecessary. He's like, bloodshed was the point. So then we get to the Mr. Nobody part. This is kind of the shall we say squirmish part of the movie. It's very, very, what should I, I don't know the word for it, but we'll get to it. So then, like, he gets introduced to Marquis, and Marquis's like, what's your name? And he just says, you can call me Mr. Nobody. And he's like, false modesty is a pathetic trait, a miscalculation. In which, trying to hide our ego, it appears stark naked. So he's just like, it's just stuff to do. He's just trying to get Mr. Nobody wants Marquis to pay him 25 million. I guess in like sort of upfront, and also into his 401k. I think he says. So that's kind of his angle with it. It's like, maybe he's getting sick of waiting for this reward to go up. So he's looking at as a way to make more quicker, just in a quicker way. And then you get the bit with if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about, where Marquis puts a fucking knife in his hand, like right sort of in there, and he says, you know, pull the knife out, or pull your hand out, and let's see if you're really down with this sort of cause. So he ends up making the choice of just fucking pulling his hand out like that. It's like fucking. It really is graphics. Like fuck that. I'd just go. That's not something I would do. I would just go, nah, fuck it, mate. I'm not bothered. Instead of just dragging your fucking hand out from this knife. So he's now kind of, you know, cut right along there. You know, you've got the dog barking and all that, and then he has to tell the dog to fucking shut up in case they shoot it. That's always something that I do worry about in these films. It's like, don't fucking watch that dog with you. You always, yeah, I mean, it's quite hard to watch the fucking first film when they kill the you know, the little dog John has. But yeah, there is some moments I'm like, you know, I wouldn't necessarily take my dog on these fucking missions with me, with people shooting at me and all that. Because it's always surprising that the dog doesn't end up getting shot or something. So you're always like worried about the dog. Right, so that's that part. So he's now has a deal with Marquis. It's gonna be, you know, 25 million. I'm pretty sure it's another 25 million as well. So it is like 50 million all in. Unless it isn't, unless I've completely missed something. So yeah, that's happened. He's now gonna track down John. Well, for him. Because yeah, I think the only reason that the Marquis goes along with it anyway is because yeah, I think Mr. Nobody just says to him, like, after he says, you know, we don't want your services, we'll find him on our own. Yeah, this was actually before he got stabbed in the hand. You know, he's just like, you know, you're gonna find him after he's killed you or before. So then we get a conversation between John and Winston, and that's where you find out about. This is a Sharon's grave. It's like this big sort, you know, it's one of those graveyards, you know, that's they have sort of, you know, it's not like, you know, what you would expect out of a graveyard. It's more the, you know, the walls, the big walls. It's like one of those sort of graveyards that they're at. So yeah, you just. Well, hold on. He just tells John about, like, because John got like the Marquis like little badge off one of the guys from earlier. So he's like, you know, who is this? So Winston's telling him about the Marquis. You know, the Marquis is someone elevated by his guarantee of killing you, all resources at his disposal. And then, you know, John's like, where can I find him? So he's in Paris, which of course by the posters, that's where we knew we were going anyway. Was into Paris. So yeah, Winston just offers him a different way of killing the Marquis. In rather than, you know, because this guy will just be replaced if, you know, if in the event you kill him. If you kill the Marquis, it will just be replaced. You know, if you kill that one, it'd be replaced, so on and so forth. So, you know, kill him, but kill him the intelligent way. And it turns out that the traditions, or like the, you know, on the foundation of the high table is you can challenge them to single combat. And you can ask for, you know, if I win single combat, then I get my freedom, I get this, that, and the other. But of course, you also have Winston with his angle that he can also throw in. You know, I get to be manager again, like paid for at the expense of the high table. So he has his sort of, but it's also revenge that he wants as well. So he just looks at John as a way to do that. So that's kind of what they're. But yeah, I guess in their sort of world, it was the idea of The idea of being able to challenge a high table member to single combat, that was like called a myth. That's how John puts it. Even then, I'm like, really? I kind of going over it now. I'm like, I don't know why that would be a myth, but I don't know why you'd want it to be a myth, but that is, that's apparently it. That it's the reason why they have this rule, this ability to challenge the members, is more to stop its more combustible members from outright war. And this is just like, it's like a win or lose thing. It's like the first, it's to the death, essentially. There's no sort of getting out of it alive. Someone's got to die. And yeah, the only way you're able to challenge a member is it's to do with your, the families. John's family is the Ruska, the Ruska Romans. That's his sort of family that he was a part of. That in 3, he broke his ticket. He broke his ticket so he could no longer use it. So now he has to go and visit them in Berlin in order to mend his ticket, and then they will be able to put his challenge forward. He can't do it on his own. He has to actually be a part of the family, so then they can sponsor him. I think that's the word they use. So that's what's happening next. So he goes to Berlin. He goes to Berlin. He's not welcomed very well. He comes in the place, and then because he goes into it's like a little church. So he goes in there, and he starts asking for his Uncle Peter. Or Piotr, however you want to pronounce it. And the priest at the front just fucking shoots him with a shotgun. So he's not very welcomed, and then he's sort of hung up. They hang him up by a rope, and then we get like a sort of conversation between, I guess, his somewhat sister, not real sister, but within the. That family finds out that his Uncle Peter's dead, that he was killed because of John Wick. So again, it's definitely come up a few times now about the consequences of his actions, because that's why his uncle's now dead. Is a way to get back at him, get back at John. So they just say if you wanna mend your ticket, then we give you one name, you kill him, and then you come back and I'll mend your ticket. She wants him to kill the guy that shot his uncle on behalf of the Marquis. So that's what they do. So he's like, I need a way in. And then we kind of get to the tense part of the movie. I think they do a very good job at it. It's kind of the guy they have here is kind of like the Kingpin. He's kind of big, very big. He's got like a purple suit on and all that. He's got like 5 gold front teeth. He's definitely a very interesting sort of character in the movie. Again, another character is not in it that long, but even just by the look of him, I'm like, he looks really fucking interesting. He looks like I would probably say he's kind of like a Bond villain again. They do kind of have that with the Marquis, and I think even here he's kind of like semi sort of Jaws. The guy with is it Jaws? It is, isn't it? With the metal teeth. But so that's Killer Harkin his name is. So that's who he's got to kill. So yeah, they let him go there after saying, I need a way in. They give him this guy called Klaus, who I thought it's just a guy that says, I am Klaus. It's just a guy like that. Like that's always, so he's essentially fucking Groot. He can only say those 3 words. So yeah, like he says to John, "I'm Clark," and then he fucking smacks John across the face with like a belt or something like that. So I thought that was quite. He's only in it like fucking 2 seconds. So yeah, the way they go about it, because the first time I watched through this, I was like, so they've sold John out then to this guy, but it's actually, this is just how they've got him. They're tricking Killer Harkin into thinking John is. They're offering John up to him in order, I guess, to make amends, something like that. That's kind of so they've tricked him into believing that. So then John can now get in there. He's now sort of within reach of killing this guy. So this is kind of the big tense scene where you're just like, we know the action's going to pop off at some point, but when is it happening? So then you get Kane, because I should have mentioned Mr. Nobody knows where John is. He called back the marquee, so that's why Kane is turned up here as well. So you get Kane that comes in and sits down first. John said, looks at him. He's like, this is personal because he killed Koji. Kane says, like, Mr. Wick may feel responsibility over the death of a mutual friend, but I didn't kill Koji. You did, John. So it's definitely a big part of this movie is just consequences. It's definitely a big, it's come up a few times now. How's it going, Arjun? Definitely a good one. I think that it's definitely a film that I would rewatch a lot of times. I'd rewatch it quite a few times actually. I've kind of seen it twice. The second time, I haven't quite got through the entire thing the second time, but it's definitely got a lot of rewatchability there. Right, so we're in this scene. Then you have Mr. Nobody. He shows up as well. And it's this is just like the tension part of it. They're gonna play like the Harkin is like, you want to kill him, and I want to kill him. We have ourselves a bit of a conundrum. So they end up playing cards. I think some of the stuff in here is quite good. Just the way, they're like, what is it? A dead man, a blind man, and no one turn up in a bar or something like that. One of them thinks he can serve his way out. One thinks he can buy his way out, and one thinks he can kill his way out. Each of them thinks that they have the winning hand. What they fail to realize is when they sat at the table is that they already lost. And that's kind of when Harkin flips his cards over, and I think like I think Kane is like, oh, you cheating bastard or something like that. But yeah, I just thought that was quite a good. Again, it's just showing the sort of differences between the three. Is that again, one of them thinks he can serve his way out, one buy his way out, one kill his way out, and then so after that, that's when I think Harkin like sort of says to John, like he says, what was it? When I killed your uncle, it wasn't personal. And I think he says, but a little bit of it was, and then John just grabs one of his cards and sort of fucking slices his neck, and then we go into the a big fight with everyone. Because it was like a Mexican standoff to begin with, and then it went into the card game stuff. He does shoot Harkin in his arse, and then it's just a big chase through this club. I did have questions like, why the fuck is no one noticing this? I find it funny that no one notices this, like the sort of people that are within this club. and then at some point they do, but it does look, you've got rain coming down, like fake rain. It's like, inside a club sort of rain. So it's just a big fight between him and Killer Harkin. There's other guys in there. He gets shoved off. John gets like thrown off and, hits his fucking back and all that. Another moment where it's like, yeah, he should probably be fucking dead at that. And then he manages to like kill Harkin, like flipping him over, and then like he falls down on these stairs and fucking snaps his neck. And then John like punches the shit out of his teeth to, break one of his gold tooth out in order to show proof that he killed this guy to the Ruska Romans. So that part of it's done. And as John is like walking away, you have like Mr. Nobody's got sights on him. And then Kane shows up and he's like, he's mine. I told you not to take the deal. He ends up asking him about, I guess your deal didn't work out either. How long did it take for them to take your eyes? And you find out that they didn't take them, but Kane gave them to them. And then John's now got his ticket mended. So then he sends Winston, I guess, off to deliver this, and it's just this scene with because it is a real. I think they filmed in the actual museum where it's just all these paintings are like the French Revolution, and it's just Winston walking across this, all these paintings for a good 40 seconds. Just walking from one end all the way to where the marquee is. And I think it's just, it plays into, again, the... when the marquee brought up that he wanted to kill the idea of John Wick, and it's, it's a similar thing. Because, you even have Winston say, looks at the paintings... There's like a warning of the cost of tyranny. So I think, I just think it plays into the idea of John Wick. So he's delivered that news, and then they fight. They have a sit down, and they've got a certain way of how they go about what the rules are of their their single combat. What weapons are they going to use? What time of day it's going to be. So that's kind of what they're doing here. And it's the Marquis saying to him, you want your freedom, but you won't take it because this is who you are. You're a killer, an orphan we plucked from the street and honed into a knife, and it's the killing that gives you purpose. And a man without purpose is nothing. But yeah, again, I think John knows sort of how this is going to end. What his freedom, I guess, will look like. It's definitely freedom in a way. But of course, the Marquis a bit of a bitch. So he ends up. You're able to nominate, like he nominates Kane to do it in his place. Like nominates his champion. So similar to like Game of Thrones, where you nominate, you can nominate your champion to do it in your place. So it's a similar thing. And I think they have to do it at sunset with pistols. It's like a proper like duel. So it's a proper duel like that. So that's all set. That's all set. We're gonna do that at some point. Kane's like. Yeah, Kane says, I won't do it. You fight your own fights. And he just reminds him that, we'll kill your fucking daughter if you don't do this. That your daughter will face the consequences, like, because of you. So that's when we get before everything starts off again, the action. We have a bit of a chat between Kane and John. In the church, John's like lighting candles to say hello to like his wife. Kane's just like, do you really believe that? Believe that your wife is there? And John's like, nah, not really. He's just like, I hope I'm wrong. But they just have a nice little chat. Kane's is like, it's nice to have a chat with, a good friend. Just before they end up having to kill each other. So then, I'm just trying to blow through this a bit quicker now. We're not far off anyway. It should be done pretty soon. So yeah, John goes to meet. He goes to meet the Bowery King and Winston. He gets a new suit. He gets a new gun that has like a capacity of, I think it was 21 bullets, something like that. And then it gets. So I think this part of the movie was like a homage to the Warriors movie, because they have like because the Marquis is like, he's not gonna. We're gonna try and prevent him from making it to the combat later on. So he ends up in the reward for John. And then you have like an announcer over the radio. It's like the for all you boppers out there, it's that stuff out of the Warriors. So because the reward has gone up, everyone's now looking for John. I think the only thing I would say about this, it's like, well, wouldn't you just wait it out? He has to be there at a certain time, and if he misses it, then his life is forfeit. But it's like, how do I guess Winston, because he's with Winston in a boat, they're going down a tunnel. I guess they have no other way to get there that could just, avoid all these people coming after John. Definitely a question I have, but, it's not that big an issue. So then we get our big fight. He walks out into the streets, and all these guys have shown up with guns and everything. So it's just this big, car chase and everything. And then we, the big roundabout in France with the big fucking monument. They have like this big fucking action scene there. I don't know how they've done this. Like, actually been able to. I guess it's just green screens and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just like this busy roundabout, all these cars coming, so you've got John having to fucking dodge cars, and shoot these guys, fight these guys, getting hit by cars and all that. Definitely, it's one of that's one of the, like I said at the start, that's one of the action scenes that will be really memorable. It's one of those, it has something unique to it that, I can't think I've seen anything quite as just fucking mayhem as this. So there's a lot of cool shit that happens in there. And then like Mr. Nobody turns up with his dog. His dog like jumps across the fucking car roofs and everything. It does. I think it gets chucked into a car. I was like, fucking watch that dog weird. Yeah, it gets and then we go into. Then it moves into like a sort of, I guess, abandoned building, and it shows you like the action scene is, you're looking down on it. It's kind of similar to, a game you would get in the 90s where you're looking down on the player, and it's just like this sort of continuous fight through the building. So I thought that was another thing which I think stands out, that particular action scene. But yeah, I think it's those two at the end that just have a sort of uniqueness to them. Just the way that they're shot and all that. So yeah, we're going through all this building. Yeah, and then because Mr. Nobody's turned up with his dog again, I think one of the second in command to the Marquis, he's there and he's about to shoot Mr. Nobody's dog. And even though Mr. Nobody is about to shoot John saves the dog. So that kind of presents a sort of change with Mr. Nobody, because he's like, you saved my fucking dog when he didn't need to, when he at the risk of me killing him. So he has a sort of change of heart that only fully changes later on when he's about to sort of shoot John, and then the dog's like, don't kill him. He saved me. So that kind of gets Mr. Nobody to go, all right, I won't kill him then because of that. Which I just think was a really nice touch, that. And then John gets flung out a window again. It's like 5 stories. The amount of times that's happened now. Because, some of the falls aren't as bad as the ending of 3, where it's like a 50-foot fucking drop or higher. And he's just like, nah, fine. But yeah, all throughout this, you have like the people over the speaker, the warriors sort of stuff. Just because they have his location, so they're telling people whereabouts he's been sighted and all that. So he's got all these steps to climb up, and I think like 200 steps or more than that. He's got to get up there, and you've got like people. You've got people waiting for him. They're like trying to stop him from making it to this duel. So it shows you a scene of Kane finding out where he is. So Kane eventually gets there, but we just have a big action scene, which again I thought had something unique to it as well. It was just fighting up these stairs, throwing people down, falling down yourself. Good stuff. He finally like makes it to the top. And then the second in command to the Marquis is up there, and they fucking throw him all the way back down the stairs. So they have a bit of a fight, and then Kane shows up, and he's like, I need you to get up these stairs. So they both start fighting the guys that are there, which again I think it's a nice touch, just for the sort of friendship and brotherhood angle that the movie goes for. So they finally make it to this, and then we get the second in command finally dies because Mr. Nobody shows up with his dog, and the dog fucking rips into his fucking cock. Not a good way to go, shall we say. And then we finally get to the duel. They've made it up there, so like the duel is like with old-fashioned pistols. They have to start off 30 paces away from each other, and then basically they have to shoot each other until one of them dies, or until one of them is at least about to die. And each time they just go 10 steps closer, 10 paces closer. So, they have a drink. I forget what the fuck they say now, and it's really annoying me. I still wish I had more time with this movie just to get everything. But this part we've kind of just blasted through, because, we're going fucking hour and a half now. So, yeah, they do this sort of thing. They both hit each other the first time, him and Kane. And the second time, and then the third time, third time John goes down, and the Marquis is just, he comes over and it's like, right, I'm gonna fucking finish him off, and then Winston says, "You arrogant prick," or something like that. John never shot his gun, so John fucking shoots. Like it's a really just quick death. They don't quite drag it out, have a big fight or anything like that. It's just fucking boom, you're dead. So the Marquis is dead. Everyone's so now John has been given his freedom. Winston has his position back. Kane he's now free. He's fulfilled his obligation to the table. So everyone's kind of sorted. You just have Mr. Nobody on a bench, sharing a beer with his dog. That little nice touch there. And that's sort of it. You just have Kane like go over, sort of hugs John, says, my brother. And then John says to Winston, right, let's get back home. And then he goes and sits on the stairs. He's thinking about Helen, his wife. And then he seemingly dies. We then get like his funeral. So I don't quite know what to make of it. the sort of ending they've went for. I don't know if it's going to be, you know, because they are doing a John Wick 5 from what I understand, and especially if this film does really well, I think it's pretty much safe to say it's getting a fifth one. So I don't really know what they're going to do with the fifth one. It's like you've killed them off now. But yeah, I think that ending does just like, you know, it sort of echoes the start of the movie with the Elder saying, you know, this only ends sort of in death. And I think John always knew it was probably going to end this way. You know, also plays into the "such is life" quote that Winston brings up at the like his first meeting with the Marquis. That John has just kind of accepted, like, you know, I'm gonna go and hopefully be with my wife again. You know, this is going to be more freeing for me because, you know, I don't really have much more purpose. So I think it does tie it up quite nicely. But yeah, I don't know what really, you know, the future of this is going to be if, you know, he's now killed off and all that. Because, you know, unless he's not actually dead and this is just for show, but then again, he's got his freedom, so he's you know, he's going to be fine. But I guess from what we've seen, there's no escape from the table, really. Even if you are out, you know, you somehow get dragged back into it. But yeah, John Wick is seemingly dead, you know, buried next to his wife. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the fifth one. Or if it's just going to be a spin-off. And I think the post-credit scene was just... Because I never seen it, but from what I heard, it's Akira confronts Kane. And she's, I guess, come back for revenge now. So that's mainly... That's pretty much... That's the entire film. We did it, you know, I didn't really want to speed through the last portion of the film. But I didn't have enough time to get enough notes to sort of get to that part. But we've broke it down in so I've been a bit more brief than I usually am. But then it generally ends up taking a whole lot longer to break down a shit movie. That's why my Shazam review, my Shazam breakdown was like 2.5 hours because that was fucking terrible. I've got less issues with this movie, shall we say? I think all in all, just a really solid movie. Definitely shares its similarities with the first film. Just the second and third film, you know, aren't as fucking good, are they? Aren't as good. Whereas I just think this definitely steps it up a whole lot more. I still think the first one's the best one. But this is a very close second. But, you know, I don't know what more I could... Because I ain't even had my fucking dinner yet, so I'm trying to wrap this up. So that is... Yeah, that's it. So, you know, all I'm hoping for is... what I want to see is a spin-off with Kane. Just because I think that character's cool as fuck. You've already got a lot to work with, I think, with that character. Whether they do it as a... You know, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what way this, I guess, at this point, franchise is going to go. Because they've already got some spin-offs in the works. You know, they've got something called Ballerina, which I think is with Anna de Armas. But they're not doing some TV show about the Continental, so there's like meant to be loads of spin-offs. I don't know if they're doing something with that Akira character. But in terms of actual John Wick himself, I don't know if they're gonna end up doing a prequel or something like that, which I'm kind of against that, to be honest. I wouldn't really go for a prequel with this. I just think some stuff we don't really need to see. It's like we have all the information we need. You know, whether they were to do a film on the Impossible Task, you know, from the first movie. They could do something like that, but I would just be like, nah, we don't need to. Some stuff we don't really need to go into, so what the fifth one is going to be, I don't know. Unless they just go fucking mental with it and just say, let's have zombie John Wick just kill a load of people. Maybe they go that route with it. But all I'm hoping for is a spin-off with Kane. with Donnie Yen. I think that would be the best way to go. Even from what I've seen other people saying, it really is as if that is the standout of the entire film. Is just that character being introduced. So I do hope they go that way. But that's the entire movie. I'd probably if I was gonna rate it, generally I don't really bother rating anything out of 10, but I'd probably say just with this, just for an action movie, on its own, I'd probably say I'd probably give it about an 8 out of 10. It's definitely one of those films that's really enjoyable to watch, even when you're sort of going through it. Because I was going through this film a second time, it gets fucking better. Once you actually, take a deep dive look into everything that goes on, it pulls you in even more. It's definitely a film that you would watch more than once. But that's I suppose that's the second good film we've had this year anyway. We had Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, John Wick Chapter 4, and I think that's it so far. We are about 2 out of 5 or something like that. So we're not doing very well, but this is a film that I will come back to and just, rewatch many times. I would even say you might as well skip 2 and 3 and just jump straight to just watch 1 and 4. That's probably what I'd say. But I will finish off there anyway, because I'm out of breath. I didn't bring a bottle of water this time, so I'm just fucking knackered. My only wish with this one was I had a bit more to sort of say. I think this is a film where I think you'd be better off with a discussion about it. I think that would play out a lot better. Just because I'm not really seeing as many issues to sort of point out, other than the certain stuff in the action scenes and all that. But I will finish there anyway. That's almost 2 hours. I think we've covered the entire film. I haven't missed that much, I don't think. there was just more stuff that I did want to pull out of the film, but I didn't have enough time before this fucking stream, so I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna have to go and just do it. But I will be back for Dungeons and Dragons next Saturday. I was only Sunday this time to try and give myself more time, but 3-hour movie fucking takes a whole lot of time up to actually try and, if you're sitting pausing to get everything and all the information you need, it definitely takes a while. So it will be next Saturday, I think, Dungeons and Dragons. Then I don't know what I was planning. I might end the week after. I might do the Super Mario Brothers movie, but that depends on what it is. If it's like, this is something I want to talk about, or if it's not, then it's, I probably won't end up doing that. But I think, if I'm not doing that at some point, because I want to do a stream for the Resident Evil 4 remake, like a stream sort of going over the whole game for maybe an hour. So that's coming, and then I've still got Puss in Boots: The Last Wish to do. And now I think that's pretty much it. So there is plenty to come, but I will be back next Saturday for Dungeons and Dragons. I'm sure that's going to be fucking amazing. Doesn't look it, though. It really doesn't look it. From what we've heard about that so far, it's Guardians of the Galaxy and Lord of the Rings. Right. Not as good as those, I would imagine. But we will see on that front. So I guess, I'll finish there. But I would definitely recommend this movie. It's definitely a high recommend for this one. So do go and watch it. I imagine most people that are still here have seen it anyway. But definitely a good movie. But I will finish there. And I guess I will catch you on the old next.